Welcome to Lair the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. For today's episode, another in a series of what I call Milestone Moments. These are moments in a band's career where everything comes together and they release maybe their most popular album or their most popular song. It usually features the most iconic lineup of the band. Or maybe there's a member change that sends the band off into a new direction. Or maybe the band has their big comeback album. So the group that I've picked for today are the German metal legends Accept. And the two milestone albums that I've picked for them are Balls to the Wall and Blood of the Nations. Now, Balls to the Wall was released in 1983. By this point, Accept actually had released 4 albums before this. They released their first album in 1979, which if you can see it up there, it's got right here, sorry. It's the self-titled album with the girl with the chainsaw on the cover. Next, they released an album called I'm a Rebel, and then an album called Breaker, and then that one up there, which is Restless and Wild. I almost picked Restless and Wild because although the first 3 Accept albums are pretty good, it really isn't until Restless and Wild that the band really found their sound. But I went with Balls to the Wall because for me, it's a little bit more focused. I like the mix better, and it has their most iconic and most famous song on it, the title track. So let's get into the album. It features the classic lineup of the band of Herman Frank and Wolf Hoffman on guitars. The guitars sound great on this record. And I love Wolf Hoffman's guitar playing. His guitar solos have a little bit of a classical flair to them, classical influence, which I really, really like. Stephen Kaufman on drums, Peter Ballstetz on bass, and of course, Udo Dirkschneider on vocals, who just sounds incredible all over this record. The record was mixed by Michael Wagner, and like I mentioned earlier, it sounds great. It's got a nice low end to it, which gives it a nice, big, hefty sound. Starts off with the title track. Maybe, arguably, one of the great metal classics of all time. It's got that famous sort of campy video with Udo on the wrecking ball crashing into the building. It's a song that you can still hear at sports stadiums. And I tell you what, I went to the Wacken Metal Festival in 2010. Wacken is one of the biggest metal festivals in the world, and there were over 100,000 metalheads there. And Udo was the headliner who closed out the entire festival. Well, he put on an amazing long set, played some Accept tunes, but he didn't play Balls to the Wall. He came on for his first encore, played a couple songs, didn't play Balls to the Wall. He left again, and I thought, all right, maybe he's not coming back. Maybe he just doesn't play Balls to the Wall. Maybe it's too obvious. He just doesn't want to do it. Well, he was off stage for a while, and then all of a sudden you heard that iconic opening guitar riff, and the crowd just went crazy, and a shiver went up my spine. Hearing that song with 100,000 plus other metalheads is one of my favorite metal memories. When the chorus of that song kicked in with the "Watch the Down," and the crowd shouted back, "God bless you!" And when that chorus kicked in, "You get you!" and everybody, balls to the wall. Just absolutely amazing. But the album also has a lot of other killer songs on it. It's got London Leather Boys, which has an awesome chorus to it, and it has those famous Accept gang vocals. It should also be noted that on this record, when I was younger, I didn't understand this. There was somebody else listed as a lyricist called, I don't know how to pronounce it, Deafy, Deaffy. And it wasn't until later that I read that that was Wolf Hoffman's wife, and she wrote all the lyrics for the band. So some of the lyrics on the record are interesting, to say the least. Next, you have Fight Back, which is this awesome upbeat number that after every chorus, Udo does these crazy screams that sound like some kind of crazed beast or animal, this otherworldly thing. It's like, how is he doing this with his vocals? In some ways, it reminds me of a lot of the modern deathcore, death metal guys with their pig squeal things, where Udo is just way up high screeching and it's going back and forth between the speakers. It's just awesome. Head Over Heels starts off with this really cool bass riff, and then the guitar comes in with these chimed notes that sound like a clock or a doorbell. Just really cool. Love Child, another cool song with a catchy chorus. Losers and Winners is another one that I really like, where it has again these accept vocals where you get this "what's the matter?" and then all these vocals, "write the letter," coming in, and it's just awesome. It sounds like there's like 1,000 dudes singing along there. And then the album ends with Guardian of the Night, which reminds me a little bit of Princess of the Dawn from Restless and Wild, which has this really catchy chorus and sort of takes the album out on a really kind of mid-tempo, great feel. So Balls to the Wall, just an amazing record. And for me, it's just when everything came together for them, the production, the songwriting. And after this, the next album they put out, Metal Heart, it would do well. And I like that record, but in my opinion, it wasn't quite as good as Balls to the Wall. And it should also be noted that I was kind of surprised by this. This is their only gold album. This is their best-selling album. I thought maybe Metal Heart would have done as well, but it didn't. And for me, it was a little bit of a sidestep. And then after that, Russian Roulette was a little bit of a step down. And then Udo would go on to leave the band for one album. This guy named Michael Reese would come in and replace Udo. Udo will come back for a couple more albums, but they never really got back to where they were with Balls to the Wall. They just never really quite lived up to that again. Until in 2010, Udo leaves the band and they come back for the album Blood of the Nations. I actually have this on CD, but I can't find the cover for it, so that's why I showed it to you on the iPad. At this point, Udo's out, but they bring in Mark Tornello. Mark sang in a band called TT Quick, and Mark is the perfect vocalist for Accept. Now, Udo is one of these singers where not only does he have a super high range, he has a totally unique way of singing with that gruff style. And in order to replace a singer like that, you have to be really careful. And in my opinion, Mark is the perfect replacement for Udo. He has that same style of voice with that sort of raspy, gruff thing. He's got a ton of vocal range, a real aggressive voice. But the key is that he doesn't sound like Udo. It doesn't sound like he's trying to copy Udo. But his voice fits the Accept sound, and when he sings Udo's stuff, he sounds great, and his voice just slots right into the band, and it doesn't sound like it's any kind of weird change. Like if they had brought in maybe an operatic Jeff Tate style singer, it just wouldn't have worked for the band. So Mark Tornella, the perfect fit for the band, and he sounds fantastic on Blood of the Nations. Herman Frank is back on guitar. A new drummer, Stefan Kaufmann. Stefan Kaufmann is out. A drummer named Stefan Schwartz is in. Blood of the Nations is produced by Andy Sneap, who at the time was really starting to get his name out there with this sort of classic metal sound. And the mix on this album is just great. It's really thick and full. And there's a lot of great songs on this record that I love. Beat the Bastards. It's got this super driving riff. Beat the bastards down. Teutonic Terror, maybe my favorite song on this record. Absolutely epic. It's got the classic Accept vocals in there doing this oh chant in the background. Sounds like 1,000 guys back there. And it's got this awesome chorus, 6-string sabers. just absolutely amazing. And again, Mark Tornella just really delivers the song incredibly. Blood of the Nations, the title track is great. Shades of Death is kind of a classic accept dark ballad. It's got some strings in it. Kill the Pain is another ballad that I really like. Bucket Full of Hate is the last song on the record, and another one that I really love. And it starts off with this toy box, music box sound that reminds me a little bit of the opening of Restless and Wild in a way. And it's a great, heavy, catchy song that closes out the album. So Blood of the Nations was really a statement from the band that they're back, and it really set them up again, where all the albums that came after that did really well, and Blood of the Nations really just put Accept back in the public eye. The album that came after this, Stalingrad, is great. The song Stalingrad is an amazing, epic, one of my favorite Accept songs. So that's why I picked Blood of the Nations, because they were really kind of lost their way. Mark Tornella comes into the band and injects just a new life into them, and you can just feel it. There's a new energy. The songs are really focused, and they're all catchy. My only complaint with the album is I think there's 13 songs on it. They could have maybe cut out one or two of the songs, streamlined it a little bit more. But in the end, it's still, I would give it a 9 out of 10, a 9.5 out of 10. Great album, great comeback record. So those are my two milestone moments for Accept. Their breakout album, Balls to the Wall, and their massive comeback album, Blood of the Nations. So that's it for today. Let me know in the comments what you think of these two albums. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.